Welcome everyone to the director's commentary of Death's Defeat. So, this is a story of a character who is dead and is trying to find his way back to life. Now, this character is inspired through real life events, though I took to it as a little more of a dreamlike state. So I began putting in more things that were unrealistic so as to add a sense of unnaturalness to it. However, the story within itself is based off of an event that I experienced. And I made this film exclusively by myself to also kind of show that these are events that I work through by myself. And so to say that if I work through it, then I'm to be the one to make art off of it. And how better to express myself than using film? Death's Defeat. The fact that it's not Death's Victory is already getting us onto a good start. I did take that shot several different times because a lot of these street shots, I don't know if you could notice, but I waited for the cars to not be in the background because I wanted, or any people as well, to not be around. So I waited for all the cars to go past so I could give it a real solitary feel to it, like lonely almost. Though a lot of them are sunny, happy, so he's supposedly in this own world that he's created for himself, so as to take to the afterlife a little bit easier. And so he's in this false reality, he's in shock, so to say, of the fact that he's actually died. And here's the first part where he starts to realize that the world within itself is a little different. And it's one of those things where, like, you know how you're just walking and then you realize that you're further ahead than you thought you were? Imagine that, but on a bigger scale. Because I have that as a. It's just a thing that happens to me occasionally. It's one of my memory issues, and so I'll like close my eyes and I'll open them again, and I'll suddenly be in a completely different place, and I won't remember how I got there. Now, this is the first scene that tips you off that, oh, there's something off within the film itself. And so here's where we see the scythe. Now, this is a kami, a weapon that I own myself. I bought it at a Renaissance fair. This shot is my favorite shot. What I did was I took my cloak, I threw it off of my roof at my camera facing up directly at it, and I slow-moed that shot. And here I am in the darkness, in the night, walking towards my camera with my kami in full black and a leather jacket. I could swear that somebody was calling the cops on me as I was filming. And so here's the scene where he's looking through the eyeglass. I had a separate scene where it's like his vision around starts to like blur, starts to become what he sees. And imagine like the very darkness of your eyes so that when you close your eyes, you see something else. That's the kind of feeling that I wanted to give. And here's where we see him. Here's where we get introduced to the first real issue. This is where we realize that this character is actually dead. Originally, I wanted this to be in water, but I wanted underwater shots, and however, I do not have a camera that can shoot underwater shots, so I did not do it. Also, most of these bathroom scenes where I'm filmed here were filmed at about 2 a.m., and here's where I'm looking over at it itself, and I tripled over this echoing just to give you a real feel of how out of touch with reality he's become. And in it, I'm saying, no, 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 this can't be real. This can't be real. Why can't I speak? Why can't I breathe? And then, wake up. Wake up. And then I originally, the first thing I had about this film was that I wanted it to be silent. I wanted there to be no sound. However, I later on added sound because Tristan thought that it would be interesting if, like, because I was in a bathtub, there was water sounds, so as to hear it. And in that shot there, that was one of the original shots that I had in there. Here are just pill bottles that I found while I was filming it, and the chains I actually found while I was walking back home as well. And I decided, well, wouldn't it be interesting if the chains grabbed me? And just in this nightmare state, I had to get off these living chains as if the world itself was turning against me. And then I'm suddenly here again, because the world is tangible. I'm able to move through it differently because it's not real. Now, here's where I'm trying to resuscitate myself, but I realize that I don't actually have any breath. I don't have any life. And so I'm trying to figure out, and I just get mad and I just start hitting myself over and over again. And now I'm mad and I return to the place where I was. I looped. And so now I start running again. And here's this scene where I fall down and the cloak comes from the grate and rises up, and I fall back, and suddenly I'm somewhere different. I've teleported myself, so to say. And here's where I start to get an understanding that I can move through the world differently. And again, I sit down there, and I'm somewhere else. And I close my eyes, and I'm back. This was all me. That was a handheld shot, harder to do than it looked. I did quite a few takes of this, and I just keep looping and looping and looping. And here's where I get mad and I throw my thing. This is also at 2 a.m., so I had to throw it quietly. So I slowed down. So I slowed down while throwing that, and I had to make it faster. And I love this scene with death. And if you couldn't tell, the figure in the leather jacket with the scythe, that was representative of death. Don't know why I have to explain this. Here's where I breathe. No. Which I'm so glad that it fogged up because that was such a good shot. And the cough, oh, it's such a gross sound, but it really brings it to you. And this was an accident too. When it started falling onto the pill bottle itself, I was all like, oh my god, I need to keep it just there. And cut. And so this was a film I made because I just needed to express something that happened, and I needed to make it as a promise to myself that I would live, that I would choose life, that this chance, so to say, this gift, I would be able to take advantage of rather than let it slide by me. And this is death's defeat. Thank you all for listening. I love you all for listening. Thank you. Bye. I'm waving, but you can't see it.